My name is Mark Reichman. I'm a senior research analyst here at Noble, and it's my pleasure to introduce Corrado de Gasperis, who's the executive chairman, president, and chief executive officer of Comstock, Inc. Following the presentation, we'll have probably 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A.
Outstanding, thank you. So can you guys hear me okay? Is this working? Testing? So I guess I have to stand behind this to get the good audio. I'll talk as loud as I can though. Well, that sounds good, okay. So some of you may have heard the Comstock story before, and I'll tell you that this is now my 15th year with the company. Hurts me to say that. You know, I work with senior people like Billy McCarthy in the back, who's like, 15 years younger than me. Freaks me out a little bit. But Comstock was and still does have an entire gold and silver mining district under its ownership. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're about to do with mining, especially with 2650 gold and what's happening with silver. But about 4 or 5 years ago, I went to the board and I said, I think we could do more with this platform, and I'll explain why in just a minute. And we invested in a renewable metals business where we're now ramping up revenues and production, which might put us in one of the top 3 silver producers in the state of Nevada, just from the metals we're pulling out of old end-of-life solar panels. We also invested in a renewable fuels business, which is going to sound too good to be true, except it's true. And we're taking waste wood and turning it into low carbon diesel, low carbon aviation fuel, low carbon gasoline with yields that are extraordinary. So with that, my presentation is designed to be 10 or 12 minutes so we can have 10 or 12 minutes of questions. And we love questions. So let's just jump right into it. Cautionary note, forward-looking statements. I will make many of them in the next 12 minutes. So we spent the last 4 years developing technology that can cleanly recycle metals and minerals out of solar panels, aluminum, copper, silver. And we spent the last 4 years perfecting and commercializing the highest yields from waste wood. But what our stock chart says is nobody believed what we were doing until August, when we announced we were shipping clean materials and making money in recycling, and in August, when we announced our first 3 commercial fuel contracts. So people are saying, maybe this is true. And so that's why we're really excited to show you where we're at today. One thing I'd like to say is that Comstock was a junior mining company. It's no longer a junior mining company because we have 3 businesses: fuels, metals, mining, and each one of the businesses has fully dedicated senior management. David Winzis and Kevin Chrysler invented the process for extracting distributors' corn oil from the waste from a corn ethanol facility. It was adopted by 95% of the industry. It's generating billions of dollars of revenues every year for that industry. If you look at some of the cycles in the corn ethanol industry, it probably saved their asses at the low end of a few cycles with that extra byproduct revenue. As soon as they finished that work, David turned his attention on doing the same thing with waste wood. So instead of waste corn biomass, he did it with waste wood. That's our technology today. Raul Babili was the chief engineer of our fuels business, who built 22, engineered, designed, and helped facilitate the commissioning of 22 biorefineries in the United States in the last 17 years. Deep bench. Fortunato, who runs our recycling business, has been working for 30 years, PhD chemist, running, building, and operating hazardous and other material production facilities all over the world. Then perfected a medical waste recycling that we took that technology and applied it to our waste metal recycling. So we have 3 businesses: fuels, metals, mining. But all of them contribute as far as we see our markets, to energy. So for us, it's energy, energy, energy. There's not enough energy, and we are contributing to this energy with clean, renewable, highly profitable businesses. And the one thing that's different about our platform is that we have a corporate team. I think of it like a SEAL team. But we don't really allow our presidents to be distracted by anything other than commercializing their businesses. So they wake up in the morning, they commercialize fuels, they have lunch, they commercialize fuels, they go to bed thinking about commercializing fuels, they wake up, they do the same thing. We don't let them hire people. We don't let them purchase. We don't let them file SEC reports or diddle around with GAAP accounting. We don't have them raising capital. When we watch the speed at which they move, it's faster than their competitors because most of the leadership teams of these other businesses are dealing with those administrative things. We don't do that. We think of it systemically. We also don't let them get involved in early stage R&D. We have a dedicated team that gets involved with early stage R&D, that has agreements with various universities, various laboratories. We just announced a landmark agreement with the National Renewable Energy Lab, the Department of Energy, and MIT, wherein we get exclusive rights to all of their IP to take our fuels technology to the next level for sustainable aviation fuel. We're attacking the blend wall. With this technology breakthrough, we will have drop-in sustainable aviation fuels which don't exist today. So, each business, 2 or 3 minutes. Today in the United States alone, we burn 230 billion gallons of fuel a year. The government has incented 2 pockets of alternative fuels. Corn ethanol, which they incented 16, 17 billion gallons, full mandate met every single year. They built 200 facilities in 7 years, they rock. Advanced biofuels like ours, only 4 billion being produced. Why? They don't have the feedstock. There's only a certain amount of used cooking oil available for renewing those oils into fuels. People are growing soybeans, very expensive, very scarce. There's an abundance of waste wood. The bottleneck in the industry is a technology to unlock all that waste wood. Billions of tons to be unlocked and produce billions of gallons of fuel. We have the tech. Sustainable aviation fuel is like pouring gas on top of that fire. It's explosive. Everyone and their mother, from Australia to Vietnam to Malaysia to Ireland to Sweden to everywhere across the United States, Southwest Airlines, Delta Airlines, Boeing, Airbus, they're all deploying capital for sustainable aviation fuel. No one can deliver enough because they don't have the technology, they don't have the feedstock. We take a ton of waste wood. When we bought this business, we could take half of that wood, the cellulose, and make 45 gallons of fuel. 45 gasoline gallon equivalents. We'll put everything in gasoline gallon equivalents. The reason we bought the business was because they were doing that profitably, but they were looking to crack the code on the other half of the wood. Wood is cellulose, hydrophilic, loves water, absorption, think Scott paper towels. Lignin, hydrophobic, hates water just like oil does. Why? Because it is oil. So we cracked the code on the other half of the wood, and we jumped to 85 gasoline gallon equivalents, then 100. 3 months ago, we announced that we're at 125 gasoline gallon equivalents with the exact same material flow, the exact same feedstock. So that doubling of our and almost tripling of our yields puts us twice the next even relevant competitor. So now we're in wide scale adoption. We announced our first 4 agreements, 3 in Australia, 1 in Vietnam, 2 more in Asia in progress, at least a dozen in the United States in progress. And what do the agreements look like? We get 6% revenue for engineering fees up front. Australia alone is almost $4 billion in capital. That means $240 million in engineering fees that we get paid because we've engineered and built these facilities before. We get 6% royalties. When? Forevermore. And we get a 20% equity stake in every project. Why would they give you that much economics? Because the model prints money. The model is so robust that it's a big win-win. Why wouldn't we build them ourselves? We're going to build some ourselves. But the capacity to site select, qualify feedstock, get the offtake, and put it into production is what a qualified partner's prerequisites are for us to say yes. We have four approved and moving forward, and we have a dozen in the pipeline. We're dealing with the most renowned offtake agreements. We're dealing with the most renowned EPCs. We're dealing with all the feedstocks, and we're wrapping it up into site-by-site deployments. It's happening right now. Shift gears. What's happening in the silver market? Most of you know this, you're resource folks. For about, as long as I can remember, we were making more silver than we were using. Despite everyone saying, but it's an industrial product, but we use it in electronics. Not quite enough. In the last 2 or 3 years, it's shifted. 200 million ounces a year shortfall in silver. Silver prices are moving up. Why? Because the demand is growing. Why is the demand growing? Primarily for electrification products and primarily for solar panels. Samsung just announced a solid-state battery that quadruples the amount of silver that's needed, and they said with widespread adoption, which Toyota's already committed to adopting, it could add 300, 400, 500 million ounces of silver consumption a year. That's what's coming. So what do? We consolidated the largest silver mining district in the country, the Comstock lode, produced almost 200 million ounces of silver, over 80 million ounces of gold. When? In the late 1800s. How? With picks and shovels. We consolidated the entire district. It had never been under one ownership before. That's 12 square miles of mineral claims and 6 miles of a contiguous proven mineral trend. We have now verified our second mine. When we first built this mine plan, we used an $1,800 gold equivalent cutoff. We were looking at 150 to 200 million of free cash flow. It was good, not great. At $2,300 gold, it's 350 million of cash flow. It's getting great. But this is only about 50 acres of a 1,000-acre, 2-mile mineral trend. Why don't we have any ounces here or here? Why don't we have ounces here? Why don't we have ounces here? Why don't we have ounces here? Because we've never drilled a hole in any one of those locations. So we're going to drill it, we're going to expand it, we're going to put it into production. If we hit on nothing, which has never happened, we have a $350 million free cash flow over a 5.5 to 6 year mine life. Technical reports published. We updated to the SK 1300 standard. Why? Because we're not Canadian. We're American. We're listed on the New York Stock Exchange, Amex. Trades well, and our SK 1300 guys caught up to the 43101 guys, and we can now put all this information into our 10Qs and 10Ks. Last and certainly not least, right? People are starting to call us urban miners. I just learned this word about 40 days ago. We are taking end-of-life solar panels. Where are they primarily? California, Arizona, Nevada. More than half of the end-of-life panels are coming out of the market from those 3 states. Where else? Texas. Where else? Florida. Where else? North Carolina. Where you would expect. But the oldest ones were in California. How long are these things supposed to last? The EPA says 25 to 30 years. They're lasting 12, 13, 14, 15 years. This year, 100,000 tons has come out of the market. Guess where it's going? Landfills. Guess where it's not going? California landfills, because California's made it illegal to put it in the landfill. It's coming to Nevada. All the waste. In 2030, the number's not 100,000, it's 1 million tons. The numbers are staggering. That's what's summarized here. We have built, and we are now fully operating, a commercial scale, smaller commercial scale facility in northern Nevada. we have proven that we get over $500 a ton just to take the waste. Some people call that a tipping fee. I call it intake revenue. We process it for about $150 a ton. Then we sell clean aluminum, clean glass, and silver-rich tailings. How rich? Double-digit ounces per ton. 15 ounces, 20 ounces, higher. Another $200 to $250 a ton. You guys can do the math. $750 a ton minus $150 a ton, $600 a ton. What's that percentage? Pushing 90. Cash margin, all in. We love it. Putting 3 facilities in Nevada, 1 in the north, 2 in the south. Why? We're plugging up the arteries from Arizona and California, where all the crap is coming to Nevada, and we're gonna take it all. Each facility, 10 to 12 million in CapEx, 60 to 70 million in revenue, 15 to 20 million in cost. You're printing $50 million of cash a year for 10 to 12 million in CapEx. Here's the coolest fact about this business. When we have these 3 plants fully running, based on the low end of the grades we're seeing in the silver, we would be the 2nd largest producer of silver in the state of Nevada. For those of you who don't know, Nevada is the silver state. Why? Because of the Comstock lode. Why? Because it became a state because the Comstock lode and its silver supported Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War and kept the Union together. So our flag says Battleborn. That's the facility, that's the shipments going out the door. We call that offtake revenue. So you say, oh, you have 2 types of revenue, intake, tipping fees, offtake. We have 3 types of revenues. Customers are now asking us to decommission their panels. So we have a general contracting crew that goes around, breaks it down, and they pay us in addition to that. So we just started revenues in Q2, tripled in Q3, tripling again in Q4, and more importantly, we're moving from the smaller facility where this is currently operating to a 140,000 square foot facility, which will be our first industry scale, 100,000 scale. Little one's permitted, fully operating. Big one, permits being submitted this week. By the end of this year, we're hoping to be up and running with first industry scale, and we're site selecting for the next 2. One weird thing happened. We said we're early adopters in the Southwest region. We said we're going to corner the market in California, Arizona, Nevada. We've already taken panels from New Jersey, from Pennsylvania, from Ohio, from Oregon, from Alberta, Canada. So now we're broadening our purview on what this footprint should look like. So 3 businesses: fuels, mining, metals, silver, low carbon fuel. Questions? Sir?
We have a mountain of bagasse.
Bagasse.
Central Florida, yes.
Yes.
You looked into that?
So we can take craft lignin from the pulp and paper mills. Pulp people take cellulose, make pulp, make paper, throw away or burn the lignin. We can take bagasse from sugarcane mills. Louisiana, did you say Florida?
Huge.
Huge, right? Mountains of bagasse, rich in what? Lignin. What do? We convert lignin into low carbon fuels. So we are engaged with a dozen sites and locations where waste wood, waste bagasse, waste craft lignin, lumber mill residuals, forestry slash and residuals, all feeds the engine for low carbon fuel. Good question. I didn't pay him to ask that question.
I came in tardy, so maybe if I didn't hear.
No problem.
So with the recycling of the solar panels,
Yeah.
are you guys the only company doing that right now?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Let me tell you that we started by building a pilot in 2021 to recycle lithium-ion batteries. We were recycling these lithium-ion batteries at the same scale that we're doing solar panels now.
5 minutes?
We were saying, what's going on? This is very hard. These things start on fire. Sometimes they blow up. We got permitted for storage. We were producing black mass, but there were laminates, plastics, and glues that we were struggling with. So we went out. We found Fortunato, who had figured out a way to eliminate laminates, plastics, glues. That's the core of our tech. I didn't say that in my presentation, so I want to get it in now. And apply it to solar panel recycling. We were looking for a solution for lithium-ion batteries. He said, I have a solution for you. Let's not do lithium-ion, let's do solar panels. I said, solar panels? goes, that's not sexy. Like, what about lithium, nickel, cobalt, manganese? He goes, what about safe, easy to store, super profitable? I'm like, that's sexy. So we shifted to solar panels. To answer your question, there's only 2 companies we know that we can think of or see when we're bidding our businesses, and they're both manual processes. One is focused on just protecting and recycling the glass intact. One is more on environmental compliance and services. We're the only industry scale, and let me tell you what that means. We can do a panel every 7 seconds. We can do 3.3 million panels a year. Nobody can touch those capacities. So all of the big utility companies, all of the big solar arrays, they keep coming back to us as the only one that can store and process that much material. So we see competition, we don't see competition to grow against us, but we don't see it yet.
The same could be said for old cell phones and computers.
All electrification products.
You guys do that too?
We want to do that, but we're obsessed with cornering the solar panel market first. Once we're printing some money, we'll look into expanding into the other electrification. There's batteries, there's computers, there's big batteries, there's windmills. There's a lot of opportunity to recycle these materials. But our president is a PhD chemist, and the chemistry matters. We were making black mass pretty well. I would say pretty much as well as the other guys. But it was the chemistry and the kinetics and the process for protecting all the materials and eliminating the waste and no emissions, very little emissions. Question? Anybody?
I was going to ask you on the recycling business, taking in panels from New Jersey, for example.
Yeah.
Just how large a market do you expect that there is, and has this offering these de-installation services, has that accelerated your commercialization?
Yes, great question. So first of all, the market's 100,000 tons in the US today, 1 million tons 2030, 8 million tons 2050, and deployments are growing, right? So we're talking end of life, 100,000 to 1 million to 8 million. The global market is 10x that number, 80 million by 2050. The numbers are staggering, okay? Number one. Number two, they literally pay us to take it. As soon as it arrives, we bill and we get paid up front, and they pay the freight to get there. What we're surprised by is people willing to ship from New Jersey to us and still pay us to take the panels. So that's a good sign that we're all alone out there. But we're gonna look to move some facilities east, because then we'll stay competitive with the cost. They don't have to ship.
With more than 6,000 small and micro-cap companies listed, if you're looking for the next Apple, then ChannelCheck truly is your tree. It's an investor community where you can access independent Wall Street research, advanced market data, balanced news, corporate videos, and podcasts. You can even register to attend in-person Meet the Management Series lunches, and to be part of the preeminent annual Small and Micro-Cap Investor Conference, NobleCon. And here's the best news. Since ChannelCheck is sponsored by the featured companies, premium membership requires no investment. It's absolutely free. So check it out. Log in today. Find out why ChannelCheck is North America's leading source of research on the companies that just may change the world.